Yeah, I just wanted to come on here and just talk, dialogue a little bit, and just share some things. Like, let me ask you guys a question. What are some things you need to quit? Like, what do you feel like some things that you need to quit in life to add more peace in your life or more growth in your life? Like, what are some things that you need to quit, or what are some suggestions that you may have? And then also too, I have a lot of questions actually that I want to talk about. But like, what do y'all think? Some things you need to quit, or maybe you can share some things that you've quit that made your life better. Like one thing that I feel like that we need to quit, or you need to quit, that will make your life better. For one, I think trying to be perfect. And when I say that, I don't mean that you don't try to be the best you. Of course, we try to do things right. Of course, we try to, do things the best way we can. But I think so many times, man, we get caught up in this perfection thing, and we start to feel like if we make a mistake, we are a mistake. We feel like if we mess up, then we're less than, or we're not worthy. And I think perfection has become a prison for a lot of people, especially in today's social media age, where it's so easy to be perfect, appear to be perfect. I mean, you know, you, that's why I like going live, right? Because when I go live, I just have to, I don't have any do-overs. It's no redos or whatever like that. But I feel like we live in a society where, like, for example, if I was to make a video and I was to mess up, I would redo that video, right? Over and over and over again until I feel like that video is perfect. Nothing wrong with that. I do it all the time. But I feel like we're teaching ourselves that we have to be perfect. And like if we have a mess up or we make a mistake, then, then we're less than. Um, it's just I feel like we live in a prison of that. And I feel like the more we try to be perfect for people, the more we move away from who we truly are. We're afraid to make mistakes, and some people will never even try to accomplish anything because of the fear of not being perfect, the fear of making a mistake. So I think that's one thing, man. Like, I think you need to quit trying to be perfect and just be yourself. Progression. Progression is what life is all about. Progression towards perfection, if we ever get there. I need to stop caring about other people's problems so much. I think another thing is we need to quit settling in our life. Like, I feel like we settle for so many things, man. And I think the settling comes from voids that we want to fill. We have these voids in our life that, we want to fill. We want to not be lonely. We want to be valued. We want to be appreciated. We want to feel like we're making a difference in the world or whatever that may be. And when those voids lead our life, we sit there and we settle for things to fill those voids, even though we know that those things aren't really right for our life. But we'll rather a little than settle for nothing, you know? So I feel like that's one thing we need to stop doing is settling, man, and just accepting less, for sure. Life is always worth living, and I think the only way you think that life is not worth living is that you start to, I don't know, man. I just feel like you got to remind yourself what life is about. And I think so many times we get programmed and we think life is about all these things that really don't matter. Like these are things I remind myself of daily. Like, what is life really about? And to me, life is about love. It's about peace. It's about joy. It's about, connection. I feel like that's what life is about. Life isn't about all these other things, man. But like I said, we live in a time where it's so easy to compare our lives to people that we see online and we think they live in the life, and it makes us feel less about our own lives. You know, and I asked the question on Snapchat today. I was like, where do you think depression like comes from? Like, what do y'all think the root issue of depression is? That's a question I want to ask you guys. Like, where do you think it comes from? Like, and not, you know, just like the root issue. Like, do you feel like it comes from not feeling like you're enough? Do it comes from you feeling like, you know, that you can't change anything in your life? Like, where do y'all think depression comes from? You know, I don't know. I don't know, man. Like, this last probably few months, I don't know. I just really, you know, I've always been the one to look at life in an optimistic way. But over these last few months, man, it's like I feel so disconnected from the things that don't matter anymore. Um, the things that used to hold value in my life, priority in my life, they don't. You know, the things that shouldn't hold priority in my life, should I say, they don't no more. And it's like, I don't know. I just feel more at peace. I don't feel pressure. I don't feel the pressure to please. I don't feel the pressure to meet expectations. I don't feel the pressure to be perfect. I don't feel the pressure to, I don't feel none of that. So I don't know. And I think it just came from me like letting go, me deciding not to try to control the things I can't control. It came from me deciding to appreciate life, from me deciding to appreciate everything about it. It came from me deciding to watch the definitions I define. I give life, right? Because I feel like we're always in control of the meaning of things. I feel like we can give meaning to any meaning we want to anything. And so like I try to always give an empowering meaning to everything that I come across. Do you feel like everybody deals with depression? Do you feel like everybody that's something that everybody deals with, even if they don't know it, even if they don't, uh, you know, admit it, or even if they don't understand it? You know, do you feel like that's something that everybody deals with? I do. I think everybody deals with a form of depression, whether it's small or whether it's big. Um, and of course, people deal with it differently, but I feel like that's something that everybody deals with. And I could be wrong, but it's just something that I think. Um, and also, too, like with PTSD, you know, I really didn't understand like what that was, and you know, I don't have all the knowledge in the world about it, but um, I had I believe a small run-in with it, that I actually realized what it was. It's like the first time that I really felt anxiety, because anxiety was like always talked about, right? Like anxiety, and I was like, what is anxiety? Like I don't have that, until I realized what it was, and I'm like, wow, I like have anxiety a lot. You know, whether it be anxious to do something, whatever it may be, or whether it be like nervous or feeling like I'm not in control of a situation. Like I've been there a lot of times. And so like with PTSD, of course it's like the smallest form of it for me, but I think I talked about this, but when I was in Bali, it was a situation where I think I talked about this on live when I was out there, but my son had got pulled by a riptide pretty much, and he got pulled into the ocean. And I was trying to surf. And so we were watching him, but I guess that, you know how riptides are, like you don't realize how far you are. And the waves were really good. They were like bringing you in like the whole time you can stand up in the water. But the tide changed like just like that, like quick. And so I was surfing, or trying to surf. I was terrible at it. And I get out the water, and somebody's pointing to Tristan, like, "Hey, Tristan, like, where's he at?" And so he was way out there in the water, right? So I go out there, and I'm panicking, like I'm like, man, like he isn't panicking, he's chilling, but I don't think he realized how far he was out in the ocean. And the ocean is something I do not play with. Like the ocean, I love the ocean, but the ocean is fearful to me at the same time because it's so big. You don't never know it. You can't control it, right? So I take off my surfboard and I go swim. I should have brought my surfboard with me. I go swimming out there, And I'm like, Tristan, Tristan, Tristan. And he jumps off his wakeboard, which was like the wrong thing to do. He jumps off, and so I really can't get to him. And it was a surfer over there, and I told the surfer, I'm like, hey man, like, it's like, hey, give him, like, I pointed to my son. So the surfer went over there, bless his soul, man. He went over there and like brought Tristan the surfboard, and so I'm like, cool, Tristan's good. So I'm like swimming back, and I didn't realize that it was like a riptide that I was in. And I'm swimming, and every time I'm swimming like forward, I'm getting pulled back, and I'm like, man, what is going on? Then it clicked in my head like I'm in a riptide. So at that point, I didn't know like the best way to swim out of a riptide is diagonal. I was trying to swim against it and use my strength. So I got tired. So I'm like, man, I'm not gonna make it out of here. And so I hit up the surfer guy that had Trist. I was like, hey, come get me. And so like, anyways, make a long story short, he brings his surfboard and like we ride the wave back in. But all I could think about like that, I couldn't even sleep that night because all I can think about is like, what if that guy wasn't there? Or what if like I would have lost my son? Or what if I would have lost my own life in those moments? And I just kept replaying that in my head. And I was like, it was scary, man, because like I couldn't sleep. Even though it didn't happen, it wasn't, I mean, it was close to happening, but you know, it wasn't somebody going in and out the water. It wasn't a rescue like that, but it was just the thought of it. And, you know, I was talking to somebody about that. It was like, that's like a small form of it. Because basically you can't break the story, right? Like you can't break the what if in it, and you keep your mind keeps going back to that situation, and you keep feeling the situation as if the worst happened. And I was like, man, this sucks. Like this sucks. And I just had to pray, man, and like I finally fell asleep. And for the next few days it was still like lingering in me. And so I realized, man, I'm like, man, what about the people who've been through some like super real stuff, man? Like even with relationships and stuff like that. Or I had a young lady that was in the Las Vegas shooting that was in part of my VIP, and I didn't get to have a deep conversation with her, but I wanted to, and I am gonna have a conversation with her. But she was just talking about that, like how, you know, that situation replays in her mind so much. Like, what could she have done better, or what if this would have happened? And like I finally felt like a small form, and I'm like, man, this sucks, man. And there's so many people that's going through these situations, that's going through these things, and I want to just figure out things on a deeper level so I can help people on a deeper level as best as I can. So that's what I've been doing. I've just been in a different place, and I want to help people like even more with these situations, with these issues, because it literally is tearing people apart. And a lot of times we overlook these issues. We overlook, you know, you hear mental health a lot now, right? You hear it a lot, but we overlook it. Like people don't understand like how serious that is. Like I even know from an athlete standpoint, like I know losing football, like with athletes, and if some people might say, oh, well, that's you know, that's just sports. But when you've been doing that your whole life and you no longer have that identity anymore, like it's hard. Like you meet a depression because now you feel like, what do I do with my life? Like the only thing I've done with my whole entire life is prepare for sports. I never prepared for a job or any type of life skills. I just knew sports, and it's over. So what do I do now? And so there's so many people in those positions. Like even in relationships, it's been in relationships for years. You're so used to that relationship. It's like, okay, what do I do in my life now? I don't know what I do with my life. I don't know how to operate my life without this situation in my life. And so a lot of us, what we do, we just settle. We say, well, I'm just going to accept the less because less is better than nothing, you know? And of course that doesn't help. So I don't know, man. I just have a lot more questions now that I've been just discovering. And of course I get so much information from people every single day as far as like with their problems and their situations. And when I don't know how to, like today I was speaking at a mental health, not mental health, a Department of Health Services. Like they deal with I don't know exactly what they do, but I know it's something dealing with health services. And so I spoke there, man, and so many people after, like only 2 people in the room heard of me. And after, man, like so many people came up to me after and was like, man, like they shared their story with me. Because they were touched, they were inspired. And tears were flowing, like in a business setting. Like you don't usually expect that at a business like conference. Like after, people were literally crying to me because no matter no matter how high you are, no matter how good life may seem, no matter what area code you live in, no matter what skin color you are, like we all have struggle. And so that's why I tell people, like, whenever I speak, my message is always the same. I'm always trying to help you love yourself. I'm trying to help you understand that it's okay to have struggle. It's okay to be lost at times. I'm trying to help you understand that you are enough. And people say, well, you talk about that when you go speak to businesses? Yeah, I talk about that everywhere I go. I talk about this rehab process because there's so many people out there fighting demons. Like literally, there's so many people that are fighting these silent battles, man. And so, yeah, I just was just asking that question. Then, like, what do you feel like the root issue of depression is? And I just want to change the narrative in the conversation, just with life, man. Like, I just want people, I think that's where I'm at now. Like, I just want to promote, like, people helping each other, like people not judging people. We're all different, but we're all alike.